Welcome to Arusha. Welcome to the United Republic of Tanzania. We have a tradition of saying in Kiswahili, karibu. Then I will proceed by giving an overview of the African Institute of International Law. This is an institution which was established by the African Foundation for International Law in close cooperation with the government of the United Republic of Tanzania. The brain father of this institute is the Honorable Judge Abdul Hawi Ahmed Yusuf, who is a judge at the International Court of Justice. He is a former president and vice president of the same court. He is now serving as a judge that court. And in December 2012, the heads of state and governments of the African Union adopted a decision recognizing the importance of the institute in the teaching, dissemination, promotion, development of international law and the law of the African Union. After the recognition by the African Union, the United Nations General Assembly voted a resolution itself recognizing the importance of the institute for the purpose of teaching, researching, dissemination, and wider appreciation of international law and the law of the African Union. A number of training programs, workshops, seminars have been conducted since then on a variety of areas of international law, including bilateral investment treaties and arbitration, the negotiation skills for African diplomats, human rights training for the members of the judiciary in Africa, international and transnational criminal law, the adjudication of international crimes, we have recently conducted a workshop on the rights of women in Africa, just to name a few. We are very much grateful also to the Supreme Court of China. There are ongoing discussion on the visit of African Chief Justices to China. So overall, we have trained over 1,000 African lawyers Our offerings target mainly African lawyers, lawyers from different ministerial departments, but also practicing lawyers, together with universities. Because something very important is happening on this continent in terms of international law. We are witnessing growth of the emergence of a legal system. The African Union legal system, with a great deal of legal instruments, legal institutions, including banks, including courts. So all this has to be taught to universities. It has to be taught to the people of Africa, and the African Institute of International Law does this by addressing this matter to the target group that I have mentioned. Yes, in a nutshell, this is the African Institute of International Law.
Thank you, Mr. Aiil. I hope my pronunciation is correct.
And, it's correct.
And your fellow colleagues, thank you very much for receiving us today, for receiving our delegation's visit to the African Institute of International Law. On behalf of myself and the Supreme People's Court of China, I would like to say thank you very much, and thank you for your support as well for facilitating our visit, for making our visit a success. I heard from Director Li Wenwen as well, how she has told me how you have helped us connecting with the different partners to make this trip a success. Thank you very much for that. And the purpose of our delegation this time to Africa is to have exchanges on the topic of environmental justice, judicial protection of environment and resources, because the environment is a common good for all mankind, and it is also greatly matters to the welfare of the public, and law is the best tool to defend it. So that forms the themes of my delegation: environment, justice, judicial protection for the environment. And in hearing environmental cases, we follow the principle of the preventive principle, the restorative principle, that it should be for the public, and it should involve multiple stakeholders. Firstly, we follow the idea of active justice, that the judges can take the initiative in hearing cases. We have this case of, it is a noise case, a case to stop noises. It is a complaint from a neighbor that, it is complaint from a person that his neighbor was playing music that was similar to the sound of a ghost. And so the complaint reached the court, and what the judge decided was that it ordered the neighbor to stop playing such music as soon as possible, otherwise it may face punishment. So the judge took an extra step to actually bring the neighbors in peace, like to settle the disputes and to settle the case. And thirdly, we treat the environment as a whole, as a system, because for the environment, for the ecosystems, the mountains, the rivers, the forests, the farmlands, and the deserts, and everything, they are all connected. The biodiversity and the climate, they are all connected. So we should treat them as a whole, and for judges to adopt an integrated approach in handling these cases. And also we develop a strict legal system and uses the strictest law to defend the environment. Since the 18th Congress of China's CPC, we have issued 24 judicial interpretations and also many judicial opinions. So far, we have already established 2,813 environmental courts or tribunals or adjudicating panels across the country.
专门组织，因为环境啊是世界人类的公共产品。
And as I mentioned, the environment is a common good for all mankind. We also do a lot of international cooperation in this area. In 2021, our court cooperated with the United Nations Environment Program. We co-hosted this World Environmental Justice Conference in the run-up to COP15 of the Biodiversity Convention. And at the conference, we reached the Kunming Declaration. And lastly, I want to propose a few suggestions for our next step cooperation. Firstly, in terms of research, I think between your institute and us, we can enhance cooperation in terms of research on ecological and environmental laws.
交流合作，国际法研究所提出来。
The idea proposed by you, Professor Aiil, on inviting 10 African countries' chief justices to visit China, I think that's a very good initiative.
这就是一个非常好的动力，而且我看我们大家都在行。
The second is information exchange.
在一些
For example, we should enhance information exchange in terms of environmental laws, research on environmental laws or international laws in this regard. Thirdly, on capacity building and exchange of personnel, I understand you have a lot of cooperation with universities and different government stakeholders. So your teaching, we can have more cooperation in terms of teaching and training programs together.
训呀、交流呀，我觉得下一步可以深入。
And lastly, I wish to say thank you for Professor Aiil and our moderator for the excellent sessions.
When the institute was established, one of the ways of carrying out its objective to see to it that the rule of law is upheld on the African continent was partnership. Partnership with institutions, partnership with government, partnership with universities, judiciaries, in the various aspects of international law that we conduct here. So you have come at the right time. While these initiatives are going on, but more importantly, I like the suggestions that you have raised because they touch actually the points we have in common and that we can explore together to see to it that we do disseminate and promote environmental justice, because it is one of the topics of international law that the African Institute of International Law has on the agenda. As he was speaking, an idea arose in my mind of putting in the activities we might be envisaging exchanging judges, but for the purpose of us having people like you coming to teach in our universities, advanced master's programs. There are some universities with a master's program in environmental law. As I said earlier, jurisprudence is a very important tool to use for scholars to and all the stakeholders to try to improve whatever activities they may undertake in the protection of the environment for the purpose of environmental justice. I'm thinking of number of fora, like workshops, where our judges would meet to learn from each other. And during the visit, we are preparing for African justices to China. Environmental justice should be one of the topics on the agenda, so that we request the chief justices who will be in China to go back home and help the institute to identify the judges from the specific courts to learn from China through the different fora that we might put in our envisaged memorandum of understanding.
Thank you very much for your kind response. I would like to say a few words. First of all, I think we should respectively advance environmental rule of law in our own capacity, in our own focused areas, from our own perspective, to fulfill our own mandates. For us, the Supreme Court, we can continue to advance environmental justice, and for you, African Institute of International Law, you can maybe also start to think to set environmental law as one of your priority areas going forward. So that's one thing. And secondly, in terms of next steps, I think, yes, today we listed many potential activities that we can work on together, be it trainings or conferences or seminars. I think, and also China, at the Supreme Court, at the Environment Division, we host international conferences on many occasions, for example, on the topic of climate, on the topic of biodiversity, and we can see, depending on your interest and availability, maybe we can work on one of them or invite you to join. And we will, of course, be following your progress in this area in environmental justice, so that we can all contribute to environmental justice in the world.